She wasn't supposed to be in the briefing room when the colonel slammed his fist on the table and declared the mission impossible. Maya Chen sat in the back corner, laptop balanced on her knees, fingers dancing across keys that held 3 months of intelligence data, while seasoned warriors argued about routes that led nowhere and strategies that guaranteed failure. For 72 hours, supply convoys had been turned back, helicopters shot down, and ground teams pinned by an enemy that seemed to predict every move before it happened. 2,000 civilians trapped in Kozlov village had less than 48 hours of medical supplies remaining, and the winter storms were closing in fast. When Captain Rodriguez finally noticed her presence, his words cut through the room like shrapnel. "Chen, this is a combat planning session, not a computer class. Analytics can wait until we figure out how to actually fight this war." She closed her laptop without a word, gathered her cables and hard drives, and walked toward the door. Nobody saw her pause at the threshold. Nobody caught the way her fingers traced the deployment maps on the wall. And nobody realized that in those 30 seconds of silence, she had already identified the flaw that would cost them everything. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The morning fog clung to forward operating base Blackwater like smoke from a dying fire, and Maya Chen moved through it with the precision of someone who had learned to be invisible. Her boots made no sound against the wet concrete as she crossed the compound, a weatherproof case slung over her shoulder, and a thermos of coffee growing cold in her left hand. She had been awake since 3:30, not because she couldn't sleep, but because the satellite feeds from the Kozlov region updated every 4 hours, and she refused to miss a single transmission. The intelligence center occupied a converted shipping container that hummed with the constant whir of cooling fans and encrypted communications equipment. Maya had claimed the corner workstation 3 months ago when she first arrived at Blackwater, setting up her dual monitors and custom keyboard with the methodical care of someone who understood that details mattered. While other analysts rotated shifts and shared terminals, she had quietly established herself as the person who never left, the one who noticed patterns that others missed because they weren't looking long enough to see them. She powered up her systems and began her daily ritual, checking overnight communications intercepts, cross-referencing supply movement reports, analyzing weather patterns that could affect operations. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with unconscious fluency, pulling data streams from sources across the region and weaving them into a comprehensive picture that most people in the base never bothered to request. Maya didn't mind. She had learned early in her career that being overlooked often meant being underestimated, and being underestimated meant people forgot to put limits on what you could access. The first indication of trouble came through the radio chatter logs from the previous night. Maya isolated the audio files and ran them through her translation software, then cross-checked the voice patterns against her database of known operatives. What she found made her lean forward in her chair, coffee forgotten as she pulled up 3 separate data streams and began building a timeline that stretched back 6 weeks. The enemy communications weren't random. They followed a pattern so subtle that it would be invisible to anyone who wasn't tracking long-term behavioral analytics. But Maya had been tracking everything. She opened a new file and began typing, her thoughts flowing into structured observations that would normally go into her weekly intelligence summary. But this wasn't normal. This was the kind of discovery that changed operations, the kind of insight that could save lives or end conflicts if the right people paid attention. Maya documented source locations, transmission frequencies, and behavioral patterns that indicated the militia wasn't just organized, they were being supplied and coordinated by someone with military training and access to real-time intelligence about coalition movements. By 7:30, the intelligence center had filled with the morning shift, and Maya minimized her screens as other analysts settled into their workstations. She nodded politely to Sergeant Collins, who managed the overnight communications desk, and returned the brief wave from Lieutenant Torres, who handled logistics coordination. They were good people, competent at their jobs, but they worked within the boundaries of their assignments, while Maya had spent months quietly expanding hers. The base came alive around her with the familiar rhythm of a military installation, preparing for another day of an increasingly frustrating conflict. Maya could hear the distant sound of helicopters warming up on the landing pad, the rumble of convoy vehicles being loaded with supplies that might never reach their destinations, and the constant chatter of radio communications from units scattered across the operational area. It was a symphony of organized effort that was accomplishing nothing, and Maya was beginning to understand why. She pulled up the operational maps on her secondary monitor and began overlaying her intelligence data with the planned routes for today's missions. The convoy scheduled to depart at 0900 was taking the northern approach through Riverton Pass, the same route that had been ambushed twice in the past week. The helicopter resupply mission was targeting coordinates that Maya's analysis suggested were under constant surveillance. Every planned operation was following protocols that assumed the enemy was reactive rather than predictive, and every planned operation was walking into prepared positions. Maya opened her secure messaging system and began drafting a report that outlined her findings. She chose her words carefully, structuring her observations in the formal language that military decision-makers expected, while trying to convey the urgency of what she had discovered. The militia wasn't just fighting a guerrilla campaign, they were fighting an information war, and they were winning because the coalition was still thinking in terms of conventional tactics against an unconventional threat. She was 3 paragraphs into her report when Captain Rodriguez appeared at her workstation, his presence announced by the subtle shift in conversations around the room. Maya looked up to find him standing with his arms crossed, studying her monitors with the expression of someone who was already annoyed about something she hadn't done yet. "Chen, I need those supply manifests from last week's convoy losses. Command wants a detailed breakdown for the budget review." His tone was professional but carried the weight of someone who had more important things to do than explain requests to subordinates. Maya minimized her analysis and pulled up the logistics database, her fingers finding the relevant files with practiced efficiency. "I have them compiled with cross-references to the incident reports, sir. I can send them to your terminal or prepare a briefing summary if you prefer." Rodriguez glanced at her screen, noting the multiple data streams and analytical tools that went far beyond simple record-keeping. "Just send the files. And Chen, try to focus on the assigned tasks rather than building your own intelligence projects. We have specialists for analysis work." The dismissal was gentle but clear, and Maya nodded with the same professional composure that had carried her through countless similar interactions. "Understood, sir. Files are being transferred now." As Rodriguez walked away, Maya returned to her port with the familiar weight of being professionally overlooked settling across her shoulders. She had been building intelligence projects because the specialists were missing connections that could save lives, but explaining that would require a conversation that nobody seemed interested in having. Instead, she finished documenting her findings, uploaded them to the shared intelligence database with appropriate security classifications, and returned to the routine tasks that filled her official job description. The morning progressed with the predictable rhythm of a military base at war. Maya processed communications logs, updated personnel tracking databases, and prepared the daily intelligence summaries that would be reviewed by people who outranked her and ignored by people who needed the information most. She watched the convoy depart through her window, heavy vehicles rolling through the main gate in a formation that looked impressive and felt doomed, then returned to her screens to monitor the communications channels that would carry news of their progress. By noon, the convoy had been delayed twice due to suspicious activity along their route, and Maya had identified 3 separate intelligence intercepts that suggested the delays were tactical rather than coincidental. The enemy knew where the convoy was going and when it would arrive, information that should have been classified, but was apparently being shared through channels that Maya couldn't access or identify. She added the observations to her ongoing analysis and continued, building a picture that was becoming clearer and more troubling with each passing hour. The afternoon brought news that the helicopter resupply mission had been forced to abort. After taking fire from positions that hadn't appeared on any reconnaissance reports, Maya cross-referenced the coordinates with her database and found patterns that connected the attack to supply movements from 2 weeks earlier, behavioral indicators that suggested a level of coordination that went beyond local militia capabilities. She documented everything, uploaded her findings to the intelligence database, and prepared a supplemental report that outlined potential solutions based on alternative operational approaches. As the day shift ended and evening operations began, Maya remained at her workstation, monitoring communications and updating her analysis while the base around her settled into the quieter rhythm of night watch. She had learned that the most valuable intelligence often came during the hours when most people were off duty, when the enemy felt safer communicating, and when patterns became visible to anyone with the patience to watch for them. The breakthrough came at 20-1-40-7, hidden in a routine communications intercept that would have been filed and forgotten if Maya hadn't been tracking behavioral patterns for the past 6 weeks. A brief transmission in local dialect, coordinates that corresponded to tomorrow's planned operations, and a timing reference that suggested someone with access to classified planning documents was providing real-time intelligence to the militia forces. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Maya stared at her screen, checking and rechecking her analysis while the implications settled into her understanding. The coalition wasn't just fighting an enemy that was well prepared. They were fighting an enemy that knew their plans before. Their own units received orders. Every failed mission, every ambushed convoy, every aborted operation could be traced back to the same source. Someone was feeding information to the militia from inside the coalition's own intelligence network. She opened a new file and began documenting her discovery, building a case that traced the intelligence leaks through 6 weeks of operational failures. The evidence was circumstantial but comprehensive, patterns that would be invisible to anyone who wasn't looking for them, but undeniable once they were assembled into a coherent timeline. Maya worked through the night, cross-referencing communications logs with operational reports and building a map of information flow that led to conclusions she wasn't sure anyone would want to hear. By morning, she had a complete intelligence assessment that identified the source of the leaks, outlined the scope of the compromise, and proposed operational solutions that could neutralize the advantage the enemy had been exploiting. It was the kind of discovery that could change the entire course of the conflict, but Maya knew that presenting it would require navigating military hierarchies that had already demonstrated their opinion of her analytical capabilities. She saved her work, encrypted the files with maximum security protocols, and prepared to enter a briefing room where her presence would be questioned and her conclusions would be challenged by people who had been losing a war while she had been quietly figuring out how to win it. Maya Chen had spent her career being underestimated, but she was about to discover that being right could be even more dangerous than being ignored. The briefing room at Forward Operating Base Blackwater felt like a pressure cooker on the morning. Maya Chen walked in carrying an encrypted tablet that contained the solution to a 3-month stalemate. The walls were lined with tactical maps marked in red ink where convoys had been ambushed, blue where helicopters had been forced down, and black where operations had simply vanished without explanation. Colonel Harrison stood at the head of a scarred wooden table that had seen too many failed strategies, his weathered face reflecting the frustration of a career officer watching his reputation Dissolve one botched mission at a time. Maya entered quietly through the side door, timing her arrival to coincide with the general shuffle as officers found their seats and prepared for another round of tactical discussions that would lead nowhere productive. She had learned to read the rhythm of military meetings during her 18 months at various forward bases, understanding that the first 10 minutes were always dedicated to status updates that everyone already knew and position statements that nobody wanted to hear. Repeated. Her corner seat near the communications console gave her access to real-time intelligence feeds, while keeping her presence minimal enough that senior officers often forgot she was recording everything for post-mission analysis. Captain Rodriguez dominated the center of the table with the confident posture of someone who had never questioned his own tactical instincts, even when those instincts had resulted in 7 failed missions in the past month. His uniform was immaculate despite the forward base conditions, and his voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to having his strategies implemented without debate. Flanking him were the core members of his tactical team, Sergeant Thompson, whose demolitions expertise had proven irrelevant in a conflict where the enemy refused to present targets worth destroying. Corporal Williams, whose communication skills were negated by an adversary that seemed to monitor coalition frequencies in real time. Specialist Martinez, whose medical training was constantly needed due to the wounded returning from operations that accomplished nothing. And Private Foster, whose weapons expertise meant little against opponents who struck from concealment and vanished before retaliation was possible. Maya had spent weeks analyzing the psychological profiles of everyone in the room, not because she questioned their competence, but because she understood that successful operations required understanding how decision-makers processed information under stress. Rodriguez made choices based on conventional military doctrine applied to unconventional problems. Thompson approached every situation as an engineering challenge that could be solved with sufficient explosive force. Williams trusted technology over human intelligence, believing that better communications equipment could overcome tactical disadvantages. Martinez focused on minimizing casualties rather than eliminating their causes, a defensive mindset that prevented offensive solutions. Foster thought in terms of superior firepower, assuming that heavier weapons could compensate for strategic blindness. Each of them was skilled within their specialty, but none of them were thinking beyond the boundaries of their training, and none of them were processing the intelligence data that Maya had been accumulating for months. She watched them spread maps across the table and begin discussing routes that had already been compromised, timing that was already known to the enemy, and objectives that were already being prepared for defense. They spoke with the confidence of professionals who had never considered that their fundamental assumptions might be wrong. The morning light filtering through the reinforced windows cast harsh shadows across the tactical displays, illuminating terrain features that had become intimately familiar to everyone in the room through repeated failure. Maya pulled up her analysis files on her tablet, cross-referencing the proposed operations with the intelligence patterns she had identified the previous night. Every suggested approach matched historical data points that indicated enemy preparation and coordination. Every timeline corresponded with communication intercepts that suggested real-time information sharing. Every objective had been discussed in planning sessions that were apparently being monitored by hostile forces. She made notes with mechanical precision, documenting the disconnect between available intelligence and operational planning, while listening to discussions that ignored the most critical aspects of their tactical situation. Maya had developed the habit of comprehensive documentation during her early assignments, when she discovered that military decision-makers often forgot important details when operations went wrong and needed accurate records to understand what had actually happened versus what they remembered happening. The base around them hummed with the constant activity of a forward operating position that was burning through resources while accomplishing minimal strategic objectives. Maya could hear the distant sound of maintenance crews working on vehicles that returned damaged from operations that achieved nothing. The chatter of communications operators coordinating with units that were pinned down or retreating, and the rhythmic thump of supply helicopters bringing ammunition and medical supplies that were consumed faster than strategic progress could justify. Her tablet chimed softly with an incoming intelligence update, and Maya glanced at the new data while continuing to monitor the tactical discussion. Another convoy had been delayed due to suspicious activity along their planned route, the third such delay in 5 days. The pattern was becoming so predictable that Maya had begun calculating enemy response times based on coalition planning schedules. She added the information to her ongoing analysis and returned her attention to a conversation that was proceeding, as if the enemy was reactive rather than predictive. Colonel Harrison called for situation reports from each department, and Maya listened as specialists described problems without connecting them to underlying causes. Logistics reported supply shortages caused by convoy interdiction, but couldn't explain how the enemy consistently positioned ambush forces along routes that were planned in classified sessions. Intelligence described communication intercepts that indicated enemy coordination, but hadn't identified the source of information that made such coordination possible. Operations outlined tactical challenges that assumed the enemy was lucky rather than informed. Maya's tablet displayed real-time updates from monitoring stations across the operational area, and she began building a comprehensive picture of enemy activity that corresponded precisely with coalition planning cycles. Radio intercepts increased 48 hours before scheduled operations. Supply movements shifted 12 hours after route planning was finalized. Defensive positions were reinforced along approaches that hadn't been announced to general personnel. Every data point supported the conclusion that someone with access to classified information was providing operational intelligence to hostile forces. The meeting progressed with the methodical pace of military bureaucracy, addressing problems that couldn't be solved through standard procedures. Maya watched senior officers debate tactical approaches that had already been compromised, while ignoring intelligence indicators that could guide effective solutions. She documented everything with professional detachment, building a record that would be invaluable when the inevitable post-operation analysis tried to understand how well-trained military personnel had managed to lose a conflict against a technically inferior adversary. As the morning extended into afternoon, Maya continued her parallel analysis, using her tablet to cross-reference the proposed operations with historical patterns while participating in a meeting that was planning its own failure through adherence to procedures that no longer applied to their tactical situation. She had learned to function as a silent observer who documented everything and influenced nothing, a role that had taught her to see patterns that others missed because they were too focused on immediate problems to notice systematic issues. The briefing room felt increasingly claustrophobic as hours passed without productive progress, and Maya found herself calculating the time remaining before the civilians in Kozlov village would face critical shortages of medical supplies. Every minute spent debating tactics that wouldn't work was time subtracted from lives that could be saved through strategies that weren't being considered. She closed her eyes briefly and ran through the operational plan that had been developing in her mind for weeks, a comprehensive approach that addressed the intelligence leak while accomplishing the humanitarian mission through methods that would surprise an enemy accustomed to predicting coalition responses. When she opened her eyes, Maya realized that Colonel Harrison was looking directly at her with the expression of someone who had noticed an unauthorized presence in a restricted discussion. The moment of recognition had arrived, and she prepared herself for the conversation that would determine whether her analysis would be heard or dismissed by people who had been losing a war, while she had been quietly figuring out how to win it. Colonel Harrison's gaze settled on Maya with the weight of authority recognizing an irregularity in established protocol. His voice cut through the tactical discussions with military precision that brooked no ambiguity about chain of command and appropriate participation in classified operational planning. The silence that followed his words carried the tension of a hierarchical system, confronting someone who had operated outside its boundaries while possessing information that could challenge its fundamental assumptions. Maya understood that her presence in the briefing room represented more than a simple breach of protocol. She embodied a category of personnel that existed in the ambiguous space between essential support and operational irrelevance. Valuable enough to maintain security clearances, but not important enough to include in decision-making processes. Her role as an intelligence analyst placed her in the uncomfortable position of possessing critical information while lacking the authority to act on conclusions that contradicted the judgment of senior officers. Captain Rodriguez shifted in his chair with the practiced motion of someone asserting territorial control over discussions that fell within his area of responsibility. His team had been tasked with planning and executing operations in the Kozlov region, and he clearly regarded Maya's presence as an unwelcome intrusion into conversations that required tactical expertise rather than analytical speculation. The expression on his face suggested polite tolerance for civilian contractors who served useful support functions but needed to understand the limitations of their involvement in military operations. Sergeant Thompson leaned back against his chair with the casual confidence of someone who had earned his position through demonstrated competence in high-stress situations where theoretical knowledge meant less than practical experience. His demolitions expertise had been developed through years of field operations, where success was measured in objectives accomplished rather than intelligence reports filed. And he clearly regarded Maya as someone whose contributions existed primarily on paper rather than in operational reality. His body language communicated respectful indifference toward support personnel who served necessary functions but remained peripheral to actual mission execution. Corporal Williams maintained focus on his communications equipment with the professional detachment of someone who understood that military hierarchies required clear distinctions between operational personnel and support staff. His expertise in managing information flow during tactical operations had taught him to value real-time coordination over analytical projections, and he seemed to view Maya as someone whose intelligence work might be useful for post-mission analysis, but wasn't relevant to immediate tactical challenges. Specialist Martinez organized her medical supplies with the methodical precision of someone who had learned that battlefield success required preparation for variables that couldn't be controlled through planning or analysis. Her focus remained on ensuring medical readiness for casualties that would inevitably result from operations that placed personnel in hostile territory, and she appeared to regard Maya as someone whose analytical work existed in a different category. From the practical challenges of keeping people alive during combat operations, Private Foster checked his weapon systems with the automatic efficiency of someone whose training had emphasized preparedness for direct engagement rather than intelligence analysis. His experience with tactical equipment had been developed through situations where superior firepower provided advantages that couldn't be gained through information processing, and he seemed to view Maya as someone whose contributions were valuable in appropriate contexts, but not directly relevant to operational planning. Maya recognized the social dynamics that positioned her as useful but peripheral, valuable but not essential, knowledgeable but not authoritative. She had navigated similar hierarchies throughout her career, understanding that military organizations functioned through clear distinctions between those who planned operations and those who supported them. Her intelligence analysis served important functions within the overall mission structure, but those functions were expected to remain within established boundaries that didn't include direct participation in tactical decision-making. The tactical maps spread across the conference table represented weeks of planning by personnel whose experience had been earned through successful completion of similar operations in different operational environments. Maya could see the logical progression of thought that had led to current strategies, conventional military approaches that had proven effective against traditional adversaries operating within predictable parameters. The problem was that their current situation didn't fit conventional parameters, and their adversary wasn't operating within predictable boundaries. Colonel Harrison resumed his briefing with the authoritative tone of someone whose responsibility included making decisions based on available information, while acknowledging the limitations of intelligence that couldn't be verified through direct observation. His approach reflected decades of military experience that had taught him to balance analytical projections against operational realities, theoretical possibilities against practical constraints. Maya understood that his skepticism toward her analysis wasn't personal but professional, based on systematic approaches to risk assessment that prioritized proven methods over experimental strategies. The discussion returned to tactical considerations that assumed enemy capabilities could be assessed through conventional intelligence gathering rather than behavioral analysis that identified patterns of information sharing and coordination. Maya listened as specialized personnel debated approaches that addressed surface problems, while ignoring systematic issues that were enabling enemy success. She had access to comprehensive data that could resolve the strategic challenges they were discussing, but presenting that information would require overcoming hierarchical boundaries that weren't designed to accommodate input from analytical personnel during operational planning. Maya's position in the room reflected her status as someone whose expertise was acknowledged but not integrated into primary decision-making processes. She possessed security clearances that enabled access to classified information and technical skills that produced valuable intelligence products, but her role remained consultative rather than directive. The military hierarchy that structured their operations maintained clear distinctions between those authorized to make tactical decisions and those responsible for providing information to support such decisions. Her tablet continued displaying real-time intelligence updates that demonstrated the accuracy of her analytical projections, while the tactical discussion proceeded based on assumptions that her data contradicted. Maya watched patterns emerge in enemy communications that correlated precisely with coalition planning activities, evidence of information sharing that rendered conventional operational security ineffective. She had documented systematic compromise of classified information that explained months of operational failures, but presenting such conclusions would require challenging the competence of senior personnel who had implemented security protocols that were apparently inadequate. The social dynamics in the briefing room reflected broader organizational structures that prioritized experience over analysis, proven methods over innovative approaches, hierarchical authority over collaborative problem-solving. Maya had learned to function effectively within such structures by providing valuable support services while avoiding challenges to established decision-making processes. Her intelligence work served essential functions that enabled operations to proceed with better information than would otherwise be available. But those functions were expected to remain within supportive rather than directive roles. As the meeting continued, Maya recognized that her comprehensive analysis of the intelligence leak would need to be presented through channels that respected military hierarchies while demonstrating the critical importance of information that could change the entire operational approach. She had identified solutions to problems that were costing lives and prolonging conflict, but implementing those solutions would require navigating organizational dynamics that weren't designed to accommodate fundamental challenges to existing strategies from personnel whose authority was limited to providing information rather than making decisions. The afternoon light streaming through the briefing room, windows illuminated tactical displays that represented months of planning, based on incomplete understanding of their strategic situation. Maya possessed the missing pieces of information that could transform failure into success But she also understood that presenting such information would require overcoming resistance from people who had invested their professional reputations in approaches that her analysis proved were fundamentally flawed. Captain Rodriguez closed his tactical folder with the decisive snap of someone whose patience had reached its operational limit, and his attention turned toward Maya with the focused intensity of a senior officer who had identified a problem that needed immediate correction. The sound echoed through the briefing room like a gavel marking the end of tolerance for irregularities in established protocol, and Maya felt the familiar weight of professional dismissal settling across her shoulders as she prepared for a conversation that would determine whether critical intelligence would be heard or ignored. His voice carried the measured authority of someone who had spent years managing personnel and understood the importance of maintaining clear boundaries between operational roles and support functions. Maya recognized the tone immediately, having heard variations of it throughout her career. Whenever her analytical work had led to conclusions that challenged existing tactical approaches or questioned decisions made by people with superior rank and greater operational experience. Chen, I appreciate your dedication to comprehensive intelligence gathering, but this briefing covers tactical planning that requires specific expertise in combat operations rather than data analysis. Rodriguez maintained professional courtesy while establishing clear distinctions between personnel authorized to participate in strategic discussions and those whose contributions belonged in supporting roles. His words reflected organizational principles that prioritized proven military experience over analytical speculation, regardless of the accuracy or relevance of such analysis. Maya nodded with the practiced composure of someone who had learned to accept professional limitations while maintaining personal conviction about the importance of information that others weren't prepared to consider. She understood that challenging Rodriguez's assessment would require navigating hierarchical structures that weren't designed to accommodate input from intelligence personnel during operational planning, especially when such input contradicted strategies developed by senior officers. I understand, sir. I was documenting intelligence updates for the operational record and monitoring communications that might affect today's mission planning. Her response reflected careful attention to protocol while indicating that her presence served legitimate functions related to intelligence support rather than unauthorized participation in tactical decision-making. Maya had developed skills in communicating essential information through indirect methods that respected military hierarchy while ensuring that critical data reached decision-makers. Sergeant Thompson shifted his attention from the tactical maps to Maya with the expression of someone who appreciated technical competence but questioned its relevance to practical challenges that required direct action rather than analytical assessment. His experience with explosive ordnance disposal had taught him to value hands-on expertise over theoretical knowledge, and he clearly regarded intelligence analysis as useful background information rather than actionable guidance for tactical operations. No offense, Chen, but we need to focus on mission parameters that can be implemented by operational personnel rather than intelligence projections that might not apply to current tactical conditions. Thompson's comment reflected genuine respect for Maya's technical skills, while maintaining clear distinctions between analytical work and operational planning. His tone suggested professional acknowledgement of her competence within appropriate boundaries rather than personal dismissal of her capabilities. Corporal Williams maintained focus on his communications equipment while offering a diplomatically neutral observation that acknowledged Maya's technical expertise without challenging the hierarchical structure that limited her participation in tactical discussions. His experience with information management had taught him to appreciate analytical support while recognizing that operational decisions required different types of expertise than intelligence analysis. Chen's intelligence summaries have been comprehensive and technically accurate. Her analysis just needs to be coordinated through appropriate channels rather than introduced during tactical planning sessions. Williams spoke with the professional courtesy of someone who valued competent support personnel while understanding the importance of maintaining clear organizational boundaries between different functional areas. Maya appreciated the diplomatic tone but recognized that Williams's comment effectively reinforced her exclusion from tactical discussions, while acknowledging her competence in areas considered supportive rather than essential to operational success. His approach reflected military culture that respected technical expertise, while maintaining strict distinctions between those authorized to make tactical decisions and those responsible for providing information to support such decisions. Specialist Martinez organized her medical supplies with continued focus on preparation for casualties that would inevitably result from operations conducted in hostile territory, but her peripheral attention to the conversation suggested professional interest in intelligence that might affect medical planning. Her experience with battlefield medical support had taught her to value information that could reduce casualties, even when such information came from sources outside the traditional tactical planning hierarchy. Private Foster completed his weapons inspection while listening to discussions that reinforced his understanding of organizational structures that prioritized operational experience over analytical expertise. His training had emphasized the importance of following established procedures and respecting hierarchical authority, and he clearly regarded Maya's presence as irregularity that needed correction through appropriate application of military protocol. Colonel Harrison observed the exchange with the detached attention of someone whose responsibility included maintaining organizational discipline while ensuring that all relevant information reached appropriate decision-makers. His expression suggested professional assessment of a situation that required balancing respect for established procedures against potential value of intelligence that might not fit conventional channels. Maya understood that the dismissal reflected systematic approaches to military decision-making, rather than personal judgment about her capabilities or the quality of her analysis. The hierarchical structure that governed their operations was designed to ensure clear authority relationships and efficient implementation of tactical decisions, even when such efficiency came at the cost of excluding potentially valuable information from personnel whose authority was limited to supportive functions. The tactical situation they faced required rapid decision-making based on proven methods and reliable expertise, criteria that favored senior officers with extensive operational experience over intelligence analysts whose contributions were considered valuable but not essential to immediate tactical challenges. Maya possessed information that could fundamentally change their approach to the conflict, but presenting such information would require overcoming organizational resistance to analytical challenges to establish strategic thinking. Her tablet continued displaying real-time intelligence updates that supported conclusions she wasn't authorized to present during tactical planning discussions. Maya watched enemy communications patterns that demonstrated systematic compromise of coalition operational security, while listening to tactical discussions that proceeded based on assumptions her data proved were incorrect. The frustration of possessing critical information while lacking authority to act on it had become a defining characteristic of her professional experience. Rodriguez returned his attention to the tactical maps with the focused intensity of someone whose responsibility included implementing operations based on available information while maintaining confidence in established procedures. His dismissal of Maya reflected professional judgment about appropriate roles rather than personal assessment of her capabilities, but the practical effect was the same. Critical intelligence would remain outside tactical planning processes that desperately needed such information. Maya gathered her equipment with the quiet efficiency of someone who had learned to accept professional limitations while maintaining personal commitment to providing the best possible intelligence support within authorized boundaries. She understood that her analysis would need to reach decision-makers through alternative channels that respected military hierarchy while demonstrating the urgent importance of information that could save lives and accomplish mission objectives that were currently impossible through conventional approaches. As she prepared to leave the briefing room, Maya realized that her comprehensive understanding of the intelligence leak and its implications for operational security would need to be communicated through methods that overcame organizational resistance to analytical challenges while respecting the professional relationships that enabled her continued access to classified information and decision-making processes. Maya's fingers moved across her tablet with the unconscious precision of someone whose relationship with technology had evolved beyond mere proficiency into intuitive understanding. And Colonel Harrison found himself involuntarily noting the fluid efficiency with which she navigated complex data streams while simultaneously monitoring multiple intelligence channels. Her interface configurations displayed information density that would overwhelm most analysts, yet she processed the visual complexity with the calm focus of someone who had learned to see patterns where others perceived only noise. The brief pause in tactical discussions allowed ambient sounds from her workstation to become audible, and several officers glanced toward the soft chimes and status indicators that accompanied her real-time intelligence monitoring. Maya's setup integrated satellite communications, ground sensor networks, and communication intercept systems into a comprehensive analytical framework that provided situational awareness extending far beyond the immediate operational area. Her technical configuration represented months of careful optimization that enabled her to function as a one-person intelligence fusion center. Sergeant Thompson shifted his attention from demolitions, planning to observe Maya's systematic approach to data correlation, and his expression reflected growing curiosity about analytical methods that seemed to provide information access superior to standard intelligence briefings. His experience with technical systems had taught him to recognize genuine expertise, and he was beginning to understand that Maya's capabilities extended significantly beyond routine intelligence support. Chen, how current is your communication? Intercept data from the Kozlov region. Thompson's question carried professional interest rather than casual curiosity, reflecting his recognition that her analytical capabilities might provide tactical advantages that weren't available through convoys intelligence channels. His tone suggested growing respect for technical expertise that could contribute meaningful value to operational planning. Maya glanced up from her tablet with the measured response of someone who understood that demonstrating competence required balancing technical accuracy with accessibility for personnel whose expertise lay in different areas. Her approach to explaining complex analysis reflected extensive experience communicating with military personnel who valued practical applications over theoretical methodology. The intercept data updates every 23 minutes through geosynchronous satellite relay, with additional inputs from ground-based monitoring stations positioned at 12-kilometer intervals along the primary infiltration routes. Her explanation provided specific technical details while maintaining focus on operational relevance rather than analytical methodology. Maya had learned to present information in formats that emphasized practical value for tactical decision-making. Corporal Williams looked up from his communications equipment with increased attention, recognizing that Maya's intercept capabilities provided access to enemy communications that weren't available through his standard tactical communication systems. His experience with battlefield communications had taught him to appreciate superior information access, especially when such access could provide tactical advantages during operations conducted in hostile territory. Are you monitoring real-time enemy communications during active operations? Williams's question reflected professional assessment of capabilities that could significantly enhance operational effectiveness. His tone indicated growing recognition that Maya's analytical work provided tactical intelligence that went beyond traditional intelligence briefings and situation reports. Maya nodded while pulling up a secondary display that showed communication intercept data, correlated with geographical positions and temporal patterns that indicated enemy coordination and movement. Her analytical interface demonstrated systematic tracking of hostile communications that provided comprehensive situational awareness of enemy activities across the entire operational region. I maintain continuous monitoring of all detectable communications within our area of operations, with automated correlation against known hostile frequencies and behavioral pattern analysis that identifies coordination between dispersed enemy units. Maya's explanation revealed analytical capabilities that provided real-time tactical intelligence superior to conventional intelligence gathering methods employed by operational units. Specialist Martinez paused in her medical supply organization to observe Maya's demonstration of intelligence capabilities that could significantly affect casualty prevention and medical planning. Her experience with battlefield medical support had taught her to value information that could reduce risks to personnel, and she was beginning to understand that Maya's analysis could provide tactical advantages that would improve operational safety. Private Foster maintained attention on his weapon systems, but listened with growing interest to discussions that revealed analytical capabilities he hadn't previously understood. His training had emphasized the importance of superior information for tactical success, and he was beginning to recognize that Maya possessed access to enemy intelligence that could provide significant operational advantages. Colonel Harrison observed the exchange with the focused attention of someone whose responsibility included ensuring that all available capabilities were properly utilized for mission success. His expression suggested growing recognition that Maya's analytical expertise might provide tactical advantages that weren't being effectively integrated into operational planning processes. Maya's tablet chimed with an incoming priority intelligence update, and she quickly processed the new information while maintaining attention to the tactical discussion. Her ability to simultaneously monitor multiple data streams while participating in operational briefings demonstrated cognitive capabilities that enabled her to function as a real-time intelligence asset rather than simply a provider of after-action analysis. Chen, what type of enemy activity indicators are you seeing in current intercept data? Colonel Harrison's question reflected command-level interest in intelligence that could affect immediate tactical planning. His tone indicated professional recognition that Maya's capabilities might provide information critical to operational success. Maya pulled up a comprehensive display that showed enemy communication patterns, movement indicators, and coordination. Signals that painted a detailed picture of hostile activities across the operational area. Her analysis revealed systematic enemy preparation and positioning that suggested advance knowledge of coalition operational planning. Current intercept data indicates enemy communications increasing by 47% during the 12 hours following our tactical planning sessions, with geographical concentration of traffic corresponding to routes and objectives discussed in classified briefings. Maya's analysis revealed patterns that suggested systematic compromise of operational security, information that fundamentally challenged assumptions underlying current tactical approaches. The tactical implications of her analysis created a moment of silence as officers processed information that suggested their operational security had been systematically compromised. Maya's data provided evidence that enemy success wasn't based on tactical superiority, but on advanced knowledge of coalition plans, intelligence that could explain months of operational failures, while pointing toward solutions that could restore tactical advantages. Sergeant Thompson leaned forward with the focused attention of someone whose tactical expertise enabled him to immediately recognize the significance of Maya's analysis. His experience with operational planning had taught him to identify critical intelligence when he encountered it, And he clearly understood that her information could change their entire approach to the conflict. If enemy communications spike after our planning sessions, that suggests they have access to our tactical discussions. Thompson's observation reflected professional assessment of intelligence that had profound implications for operational security and tactical effectiveness. His tone indicated growing recognition that Maya's analysis identified problems that needed immediate attention from senior command personnel. Maya nodded while displaying additional data that demonstrated systematic patterns of information compromise, extending back through months of operational planning. Her analysis revealed that enemy tactical advantages weren't based on superior capabilities but on access to classified information that enabled them to prepare defensive positions and coordinate responses to coalition operations before such operations were implemented. The briefing room atmosphere shifted as officers began to understand that Maya's technical competence provided access to intelligence that fundamentally challenged their understanding of why operations had been failing and what would be required to achieve mission success. Her analytical capabilities had identified systematic problems that needed to be addressed before any tactical approach could succeed. Information that positioned her expertise as essential rather than supportive to operational planning. The afternoon briefing had devolved into a contest of tactical theories that ignored the fundamental reality Maya had been documenting for weeks, and Private Foster chose that moment to demonstrate his opinion of intelligence analysts who presumed to understand operational challenges that required combat experience rather than computer skills. His comment cut through the tactical discussion with the casual cruelty of someone who had never questioned his own assumptions about the relative value of different military specialties. Maybe Chen can analyze her way out of the next ambush, while the rest of us handle the actual fighting. Foster's words carried the mock-serious tone of someone who believed his humor was more insightful than offensive, and his grin suggested confidence that his assessment would be shared by others who understood the distinction between theoretical knowledge and practical experience. The comment reflected military culture that valued proven combat capability over analytical expertise, regardless of the accuracy or relevance of such analysis. Sergeant Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his chair, recognizing that Foster's comment had crossed professional boundaries, while acknowledging that the underlying sentiment wasn't entirely unreasonable. His experience with combat operations had taught him to respect different types of expertise while maintaining clear priorities about what mattered most during tactical operations. Thompson's expression suggested growing awareness that the conversation was moving beyond productive criticism into personal attack. Corporal Williams maintained focus on his communications equipment while processing Foster's comment with the diplomatic awareness of someone who understood that military units functioned best when personnel respected each other's contributions rather than engaging in destructive competition. His experience with information management had taught him to value different types of expertise while recognizing that successful operations required collaboration rather than hierarchy-based dismissal. Specialist Martinez paused in her medical supply organization to observe the exchange with the professional concern of someone whose training had emphasized the importance of unit cohesion for operational effectiveness. Her experience with battlefield medical support had taught her that personnel conflicts could compromise mission success and endanger lives, and she clearly regarded Foster's comment as counterproductive to effective team functioning. Captain Rodriguez observed the exchange with the measured attention of someone whose responsibility included maintaining professional standards while managing personality conflicts that could affect operational effectiveness. His expression suggested recognition that Foster's comment had introduced unprofessional elements into tactical discussions that needed to remain focused on mission requirements rather than personal assessments of different specialties. Maya felt the familiar weight of professional dismissal settling across her shoulders as she processed Foster's comment with the practiced composure of someone who had encountered similar attitudes throughout her career. Her response would need to demonstrate professional maturity while maintaining personal dignity, a balance that required careful attention to military hierarchy and unit dynamics that weren't designed to accommodate direct confrontation between personnel of different ranks and specialties. The tactical maps spread across the conference table seemed to mock the intellectual pretensions of personnel who believed that data analysis could substitute for combat experience, and Foster's comment reflected broader military culture that prioritized proven battlefield capability over analytical speculation. His assessment wasn't entirely unfair from the perspective of someone whose training had emphasized direct action over theoretical analysis, but it ignored the possibility that different types of expertise might provide complementary rather than competing contributions to operational success. Maya understood that responding to Foster's challenge would require demonstrating the practical value of her analytical work while respecting military hierarchy that gave operational personnel authority over tactical decisions. Her intelligence analysis served legitimate functions that contributed to mission success, but those contributions weren't always visible to personnel whose focus remained on immediate tactical challenges rather than systematic strategic assessment. My analysis indicates that our current tactical approaches are being systematically countered by an adversary with advanced knowledge of our operational planning. Maya's response provided specific information while maintaining professional tone that avoided direct confrontation with Foster's assessment. Her approach reflected extensive experience communicating technical analysis to personnel whose expertise lay in different areas while maintaining focus on operational relevance rather than personal defense. Foster leaned back in his chair with the confident posture of someone whose practical experience had taught him to question theoretical solutions that hadn't been tested under battlefield conditions. His expression suggested polite skepticism toward analytical conclusions that seemed to challenge the competence of operational personnel who had been implementing proven tactical methods based on established military doctrine. Right, so the enemy is psychic, or maybe they have better analysts than we do. Foster's response reflected genuine curiosity, mixed with professional skepticism about intelligence assessments that seemed to attribute supernatural capabilities to hostile forces. His tone indicated recognition that Maya's analysis might contain valuable information, while maintaining reservations about conclusions that challenged fundamental assumptions about enemy capabilities. Sergeant Thompson focused his attention on Maya with the professional interest of someone whose tactical expertise enabled him to recognize significant intelligence when he encountered it. His experience with operational planning had taught him to appreciate information that could explain tactical challenges while remaining skeptical of analysis that seemed to attribute enemy success to factors beyond conventional military capabilities. Maya pulled up her analytical interface and began displaying data that demonstrated systematic patterns of enemy coordination that corresponded precisely with coalition planning activities. Her presentation revealed comprehensive evidence of information sharing that suggested enemy tactical advantages were based on advanced knowledge rather than superior capabilities, intelligence that could explain months of operational failures. While pointing toward practical solutions, enemy communications increased by predictable percentages within specific timeframes following our tactical planning sessions, with geographical concentration that corresponds to objectives and routes. Discussed in classified briefings, Maya's explanation provided concrete evidence, while maintaining focus on operational implications rather than theoretical speculation. Her data demonstrated systematic compromise of operational security through patterns that were invisible without comprehensive analytical monitoring. Colonel Harrison observed Maya's presentation with the focused attention of someone whose responsibility included assessing all available intelligence while maintaining realistic expectations about what could be accomplished through analytical work versus direct action. His expression suggested growing recognition that her analysis might provide explanations for tactical problems that had resisted conventional solutions. Corporal Williams looked up from his communications equipment with increased attention as he began to understand the implications of Maya's intelligence for operational security and tactical effectiveness. His experience with information management had taught him to recognize systematic problems when they were clearly documented, and he was beginning to appreciate that her analysis identified issues that went beyond routine intelligence work. "You're saying someone is feeding our operational plans to the enemy?" Williams's question reflected professional assessment of intelligence that had profound implications for every aspect of their tactical operations. His tone indicated growing recognition that Maya's analysis addressed fundamental security problems rather than routine analytical speculation. Maya nodded while displaying additional data that traced information compromise through multiple operational cycles, revealing patterns that demonstrated systematic enemy access to classified planning information. Her analysis provided comprehensive evidence that enemy tactical success was based on advanced knowledge of coalition operations rather than superior battlefield capabilities. Intelligence that fundamentally challenged assumptions underlying current strategic approaches. Foster shifted his attention from weapons inspection to Maya's analytical display with the reluctant interest of someone whose training had taught him to respect superior information even when it came from sources he didn't entirely trust. His expression suggested growing awareness that her intelligence might provide tactical advantages that could improve operational effectiveness, even if he remained skeptical about analytical methods that seemed to challenge conventional military approaches. If that's true, then every operation we plan is compromised before we implement it. Foster's observation reflected growing understanding of the tactical implications of Maya's analysis. His tone indicated recognition that her intelligence identified problems that needed immediate attention from senior command personnel rather than dismissal as analytical speculation. Maya's presentation revealed systematic enemy preparation and positioning that could only be explained by advanced access to coalition operational planning, evidence that positioned her analytical work as essential to understanding why missions had been failing and what would be required to achieve tactical success. Her data demonstrated that enemy advantages weren't based on superior capabilities, but on information that enabled them to prepare defensive positions and coordinate responses before coalition operations were implemented. The atmosphere in the briefing room shifted as personnel began to understand that Maya's intelligence capabilities provided access to information that challenged their fundamental understanding of the tactical situation they faced. Her analysis revealed that operational failures weren't based on inadequate planning or insufficient resources, but on systematic compromise of operational security that rendered conventional tactical approaches ineffective. Sergeant Thompson leaned forward with the focused attention of someone whose tactical expertise enabled him to immediately recognize the significance of systematic enemy access to coalition planning information. His experience with operational planning had taught him to identify critical intelligence that could change entire approaches to tactical challenges, and he clearly understood that Maya's analysis provided information that needed immediate attention. From senior command personnel, Specialist Martinez paused in her medical preparation to observe discussions that revealed intelligence with profound implications for casualty prevention and operational safety. Her experience with battlefield medical support had taught her to value information that could reduce risks to personnel, and she was beginning to understand that Maya's analysis identified security problems that significantly increased dangers faced by operational units. The tactical implications of systematic information compromise created a moment of professional assessment as officers processed intelligence that explained months of operational failures while pointing toward solutions that could restore tactical advantages. Maya's analytical capabilities had identified problems that went beyond routine intelligence work into fundamental questions about operational security and strategic effectiveness. Private Foster's mockery had inadvertently prompted Maya to demonstrate analytical capabilities that provided critical intelligence about systematic enemy advantages based on access to classified planning information. His challenge had revealed that her expertise extended far beyond routine support functions into essential contributions to understanding and solving tactical problems that had resisted conventional solutions. The maintenance shed behind the motor pool offered Maya the privacy she needed to conduct activities that weren't officially part of her intelligence duties, but had become essential to her understanding of the tactical situation they faced. The corrugated metal structure housed broken equipment and spare parts that nobody had bothered to inventory, creating an environment where she could work without attracting attention from personnel who might question her access to materials that weren't directly related to analytical functions. Maya had discovered the shed during her second week at Forward Operating Base Blackwater while conducting a comprehensive survey of facility resources that might be useful for establishing additional intelligence collection capabilities. Her systematic approach to understanding her operational environment reflected training that went far beyond traditional intelligence analysis into areas that most personnel would consider outside their professional responsibilities. The workbench she had assembled from discarded materials supported technical equipment that enabled her to monitor communications across broader frequency ranges than standard intelligence systems could access. Maya had requisitioned some components through official channels while acquiring others through informal exchanges with maintenance personnel who appreciated her technical assistance with equipment problems that weren't covered by standard repair procedures. Her modified monitoring setup integrated commercial radio equipment with military-grade signal processing hardware that enabled her to track enemy communications with precision that exceeded capabilities available through conventional intelligence channels. The technical modifications required knowledge of electronics and communications theory that Maya had acquired through years of independent study that began long before her current assignment. Maya's father had been Colonel Marcus Chen, a strategic operations specialist whose career had spanned 3 decades of military service in intelligence and special operations roles that required understanding enemy capabilities and intentions, rather than simply implementing predetermined tactical responses. He had taught Maya to think systematically about problems that couldn't be solved through conventional approaches, training that had shaped her analytical methods and strategic thinking. Her childhood had been spent on military installations, where she absorbed tactical concepts and strategic thinking through daily exposure to personnel whose expertise extended beyond routine military functions into specialized areas that required independent judgment and creative problem-solving. Maya had learned to observe military operations with the analytical perspective of someone who understood that successful missions required comprehensive understanding of variables that weren't always apparent to personnel focused on immediate tactical challenges. Colonel Chen had recognized his daughter's analytical capabilities early and had encouraged her development through informal training that covered areas not typically included in civilian education or standard military curricula. Maya had learned to read tactical maps, understand communications protocols, and analyze enemy behavior patterns through methods that emphasize systematic observation and logical deduction rather than reliance on official intelligence briefings. Her technical education had been supplemented by practical experience with military equipment and procedures that enabled her to education had been supplemented by practical experience with military equipment and procedures that enabled her to function effectively in operational environments while maintaining the analytical perspective that distinguished her work from routine intelligence functions. Maya had learned to combine technical expertise with strategic thinking in ways that provided comprehensive understanding of complex tactical situations. The equipment modifications she was implementing in the maintenance shed reflected years of technical development that began with childhood experimentation and had evolved through systematic study of communications theory and signal processing techniques. Maya's approach to intelligence gathering emphasized comprehensive monitoring and analytical correlation rather than reliance on standard intelligence channels that might not provide complete situational awareness. Her workstation included multiple monitoring systems that tracked enemy communications across different frequency ranges while simultaneously analyzing patterns that indicated coordination and strategic planning. Maya had learned to identify behavioral indicators that revealed enemy intentions and capabilities through methods that went beyond CONVENT-IONAL intelligence analysis into areas that required understanding psychology and strategic thinking. The tactical situation they faced required intelligence capabilities that exceeded what was available through standard military channels. And Maya had spent months developing enhanced monitoring and analysis capabilities that could provide the comprehensive situational awareness needed to understand enemy operations and develop effective countermeasures. Her technical modifications enabled her to function as a one-person intelligence fusion center with capabilities that exceeded what was available through conventional military intelligence systems. Maya's analytical methods reflected training that emphasized systematic observation and logical deduction rather than reliance on predetermined assumptions about enemy capabilities and intentions. Her approach to intelligence gathering had been developed through years of independent study that covered areas not typically included in standard military training, techniques that enabled her to identify patterns and relationships that others missed because they weren't looking for them. The communications intercept data she had been collecting revealed systematic patterns of enemy coordination that indicated access to coalition operational planning information, intelligence that explained months of tactical failures while pointing toward solutions that could restore operational effectiveness. Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities had enabled her to identify security compromises that weren't visible through conventional intelligence channels. Her technical setup included automated correlation systems that analyzed enemy communications in real time while maintaining comprehensive databases of behavioral patterns that enabled predictive analysis of enemy intentions and capabilities. Maya had learned to combine technical monitoring with strategic analysis in ways that provided actionable intelligence for tactical planning and operational decision-making. The maintenance shed work sessions had become essential to Maya's ability to provide comprehensive intelligence support while developing enhanced analytical capabilities that weren't available through standard military channels. Her technical modifications enabled her to monitor enemy activities with precision that exceeded conventional intelligence gathering, while maintaining the analytical perspective needed to understand strategic implications of tactical intelligence. Maya's background included technical training that enabled her to modify and enhance military communications equipment in ways that expanded monitoring capabilities while maintaining operational security that protected her. Enhanced intelligence gathering from detection by enemy forces. Her approach to technical modification reflected systematic understanding of communications theory and signal processing that enabled her to achieve superior performance through innovative applications of standard equipment. The analytical work she conducted in the maintenance shed provided the foundation for intelligence assessments that identified systematic enemy advantages while pointing toward tactical solutions that could restore coalition operational effectiveness. Maya's enhanced monitoring and analysis capabilities had enabled her to develop comprehensive understanding of enemy operations that went beyond what was available through conventional intelligence channels. Her evening work sessions included comprehensive analysis of communications intercept data that revealed patterns of enemy coordination and strategic planning that indicated systematic access to coalition operational information. Maya had learned to correlate technical intelligence with behavioral analysis in ways that provided predictive capabilities for tactical planning and operational decision-making. The equipment modifications and analytical techniques she had developed in the maintenance shed enabled Maya to function as an advanced intelligence asset with capabilities that exceeded what was available through standard military channels while maintaining the analytical perspective needed to understand strategic implications of tactical intelligence. Her technical expertise and analytical methods provided comprehensive, situational awareness that could change the entire approach to their tactical challenges. Maya understood that her enhanced intelligence capabilities had identified security problems that needed immediate attention from senior command personnel, while providing solutions that could restore tactical advantages through innovative approaches to operational planning and strategic thinking. Her background and technical expertise had enabled her to develop analytical capabilities that were essential to understanding and solving problems that had resisted conventional military solutions. The convoy departure at 0800 marked the beginning of another tactical operation that Maya knew would fail before the vehicles cleared the base perimeter. But she maintained her position in the communications center while monitoring enemy intercepts that confirmed her predictions about systematic operational compromise. Her enhanced analytical capabilities provided real-time intelligence about enemy preparations that weren't available through conventional military channels, information that could prevent the tactical disaster that was already developing according to predictable patterns. Captain Rodriguez led the convoy with the confident efficiency of someone whose operational experience had been successful in different tactical environments where enemy capabilities didn't include advanced access to coalition planning information. His approach reflected conventional military doctrine applied to unconventional problems, tactical thinking that assumed enemy responses would be reactive rather than predictive based on systematic intelligence advantages. Maya watched the convoys progress through multiple monitoring systems while simultaneously tracking enemy communications that indicated coordinated positioning along routes that had been discussed in classified planning sessions. Her analytical interface displayed real-time correlation between coalition movements and enemy activities that demonstrated systematic compromise of operational security through patterns that were invisible without comprehensive monitoring and behavioral analysis. Sergeant Thompson's demolitions expertise would be irrelevant during the convoy operation because enemy tactical advantages were based on advance knowledge rather than superior defensive positions that could be eliminated through explosive ordnance. Maya's analysis indicated that conventional tactical approaches wouldn't address the fundamental security problems that enabled enemy success. Intelligence that positioned her analytical work as essential to understanding why operations failed and what would be required to achieve mission success. The tactical situation unfolding in real time demonstrated every aspect of the systematic operational compromise that Maya had been documenting for weeks through enhanced intelligence gathering that revealed patterns of enemy coordination and strategic planning. Her monitoring systems provided comprehensive, situational awareness that enabled her to predict tactical developments while conventional military personnel implemented operations based on incomplete understanding of enemy capabilities. Corporal Williams managed convoy communications through standard military channels that were apparently being monitored by enemy forces, with systematic access to coalition operational information. Maya's enhanced monitoring revealed enemy communications that indicated real-time awareness of convoy positions and tactical modifications, intelligence that confirmed systematic compromise of operational security through methods that weren't detectable through conventional military intelligence systems. Maya's analytical interface displayed enemy communications, increasing precisely according to patterns she had identified during previous operational cycles, behavioral indicators that demonstrated systematic enemy access to coalition planning information. Her enhanced monitoring capabilities provided real-time intelligence about enemy coordination that explained tactical failures while pointing toward solutions that could restore operational effectiveness through innovative approaches to strategic planning. The convoy encountered initial delays exactly as Maya's analysis had predicted, based on historical patterns of enemy response to coalition tactical operations. Her monitoring systems revealed enemy communications that indicated coordinated positioning along alternate routes that hadn't been announced through general military channels, intelligence that demonstrated systematic compromise of operational security through sources that had access to classified planning information. Specialist Martinez provided medical support for convoy operations that would inevitably produce casualties due to enemy tactical advantages, based on advanced knowledge of coalition movements and objectives. Maya's analysis indicated that conventional medical preparation wouldn't address the fundamental security problems that increased risks to operational personnel. Intelligence that positioned her enhanced monitoring capabilities as essential to casualty prevention through systematic understanding of enemy operations. Private Foster's weapons expertise couldn't provide tactical advantages against enemy forces that possessed advanced knowledge of coalition operational planning and could coordinate defensive responses before operations were implemented. Maya's enhanced intelligence gathering revealed enemy communications that indicated systematic preparation for convoy interdiction through methods that rendered conventional tactical approaches ineffective. The tactical radio channels carried routine communications that followed standard military protocols, while enemy forces monitored coalition frequencies with systematic access to operational information that enabled predictive rather than reactive tactical responses. Maya's analytical capabilities provided comprehensive understanding of the systematic intelligence compromise that explained months of operational failures while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to strategic planning. Maya monitored enemy communications through her enhanced systems, while simultaneously tracking coalition convoy progress through standard military channels. Analytical correlation that revealed systematic patterns of information sharing between enemy forces and unknown sources with access to classified planning information. Her monitoring capabilities provided real-time intelligence about enemy coordination that demonstrated systematic compromise of operational security. The convoy modifications implemented by Captain Rodriguez followed standard tactical doctrine that assumed enemy responses would be based on limited information rather than comprehensive access to coalition planning details. Maya's analysis indicated that conventional tactical approaches wouldn't address the fundamental security problems that enabled enemy tactical advantages. Intelligence that positioned her enhanced analytical capabilities as essential to understanding operational failures. Her enhanced monitoring systems revealed enemy communications that indicated coordinated preparation for convoy interdiction along multiple routes that hadn't been discussed through general military channels, behavioral patterns that demonstrated systematic enemy access to classified operational information. Maya's analytical correlation provided comprehensive evidence of information compromise that explained tactical failures while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to operational security. The tactical situation developing around the convoy operation demonstrated every aspect of the systematic operational compromise that Maya had identified through months of enhanced intelligence gathering and behavioral analysis. Her monitoring capabilities provided real-time intelligence about enemy coordination that revealed fundamental security problems, while conventional military personnel implemented tactical approaches that couldn't address systematic information advantages. Maya's analytical interface displayed predictive models that indicated probable convoy interdiction based on historical patterns of enemy response to coalition tactical operations, combined with real-time intelligence about enemy positioning and coordination. Her enhanced monitoring revealed systematic enemy preparation that confirmed operational compromise through sources with access to classified planning information. The convoy communications included routine tactical updates that followed standard military protocols, while enemy forces coordinated interdiction operations based on advance knowledge of coalition routes and objectives. Maya's enhanced intelligence gathering provided comprehensive understanding of systematic information compromise that positioned her analytical capabilities as essential to tactical success through innovative approaches to operational planning. Her monitoring systems revealed enemy communications that demonstrated systematic coordination and strategic planning based on real-time access to coalition operational information, intelligence that explained months of tactical failures while pointing toward solutions that required fundamental changes to operational security and strategic thinking. Maya's enhanced analytical capabilities provided comprehensive situational awareness that could change the entire approach to tactical challenges through innovative methods that address systematic problems rather than surface symptoms. The convoy operation proceeded according to conventional military doctrine, while enemy forces implemented coordinated responses based on systematic access to coalition planning information, tactical development that demonstrated the fundamental security problems Maya had identified through enhanced intelligence gathering and analytical correlation. Her monitoring capabilities provided real-time intelligence that revealed systematic operational compromise while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to strategic planning and tactical implementation. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell arrived at Forward Operating Base Blackwater on a routine inspection tour that would forever change Maya's professional trajectory, though neither woman understood the significance of their first encounter as Maya demonstrated analytical capabilities that exceeded anything available through conventional military intelligence channels. Mitchell's background in strategic intelligence operations had taught her to recognize exceptional analytical talent when she encountered it, and Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities immediately captured her professional attention. The demonstration began when Mitchell requested current intelligence assessments about enemy capabilities in the Kozlov region, and Maya provided comprehensive analysis that revealed systematic patterns of coordination and strategic planning that weren't visible through standard military intelligence systems. Her presentation included real-time communications, intercept data, correlated with behavioral analysis that demonstrated enemy tactical advantages based on systematic access to coalition operational information. Mitchell observed Maya's analytical interface with the focused attention of someone whose experience with strategic intelligence operations enabled her to immediately recognize the value of enhanced monitoring and correlation capabilities. Her questions probed the technical aspects of Maya's intelligence gathering while assessing the strategic implications of analysis that revealed fundamental security problems affecting all coalition operations in the region. Your communications intercept capabilities exceed what's available through standard intelligence channels. How did you develop these enhanced monitoring systems? Mitchell's question reflected professional assessment of technical capabilities that provided superior intelligence gathering while indicating growing recognition that Maya's expertise extended far beyond routine analytical functions. Maya explained her technical modifications and analytical methods with the careful precision of someone who understood that demonstrating competence required balancing comprehensive information with accessibility for personnel whose expertise lay in strategic rather than technical areas. Her presentation revealed years of independent development that had produced analytical capabilities superior to conventional military intelligence systems. I integrated commercial communications equipment with military-grade signal processing hardware to achieve broader frequency coverage while developing automated correlation systems that identify behavioral patterns indicating enemy coordination and strategic planning. Maya's explanation provided technical details while maintaining focus on operational relevance rather than theoretical methodology. Mitchell recognized that Maya's technical expertise and analytical methods provided capabilities that were essential to understanding systematic security problems, while pointing toward solutions that could restore tactical advantages through innovative approaches to intelligence gathering and strategic planning. Her professional assessment indicated growing awareness that Maya's contributions could significantly enhance operational effectiveness. Your analysis indicates systematic enemy access to our operational planning information. What evidence supports that conclusion? Mitchell's question reflected strategic intelligence expertise that enabled her to evaluate analytical assessments while understanding the implications of systematic information compromise for tactical operations and strategic planning. Maya displayed comprehensive data that demonstrated correlation between coalition planning activities and enemy communications patterns, evidence that revealed systematic information sharing through sources with access to classified operational details. Her analysis provided conclusive proof of security compromise that explained months of tactical failures while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to operational security. The analytical presentation revealed enemy communications increasing according to predictable patterns following coalition planning sessions, geographical concentration that corresponded to routes and objectives discussed in classified briefings, and coordination timing that indicated real-time access to operational modifications. Maya's enhanced monitoring had documented systematic compromise through behavioral analysis that revealed patterns invisible to conventional intelligence gathering. Mitchell studied Maya's analytical correlation with the professional expertise of someone whose strategic intelligence background enabled her to immediately recognize the significance of systematic enemy access to coalition planning information. Her assessment indicated growing understanding that Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities provided intelligence that was essential to tactical success through innovative approaches to operational security. This analysis explains tactical problems that have resisted conventional solutions. Your enhanced monitoring capabilities provide intelligence that could change our entire operational approach. Mitchell's observation reflected strategic thinking that positioned Maya's analytical work as essential to understanding and solving systematic security problems rather than routine intelligence support. Maya continued her presentation with systematic documentation of enemy tactical advantages based on advanced knowledge of coalition operations, behavioral patterns that demonstrated coordination through sources with access to classified planning, information, and strategic planning that indicated comprehensive understanding of coalition capabilities and intentions. Her enhanced intelligence gathering revealed systematic compromise that required immediate attention from senior command personnel. The technical aspects of Maya's monitoring systems impressed Mitchell as innovative applications of standard equipment that achieved superior performance through creative problem-solving and systematic technical development. Her approach to intelligence gathering reflected comprehensive understanding of communications theory and signal processing that enabled enhanced analytical capabilities through methods that weren't available through conventional military channels. Mitchell recognized that Maya's analytical methods provided predictive capabilities for tactical planning through comprehensive understanding of enemy operations and strategic thinking. Intelligence assessment that positioned her enhanced monitoring as essential to operational success through innovative approaches to security and strategic planning. Her professional evaluation indicated growing awareness that Maya's expertise could provide tactical advantages that weren't available through standard military intelligence systems. Your predictive analysis could prevent tactical failures by identifying enemy preparation before operations are implemented. These capabilities need integration into operational planning at strategic levels. Mitchell's assessment reflected recognition that Maya's enhanced intelligence gathering provided essential capabilities for tactical success, while indicating professional support for expanding her role beyond routine analytical functions. Maya's demonstration concluded with comprehensive assessment of systematic security problems that explained operational failures while providing solutions that could restore tactical advantages through innovative approaches to intelligence gathering and strategic planning. Her enhanced monitoring capabilities had revealed fundamental issues that required attention from senior command personnel while pointing toward methods that could achieve tactical success through systematic understanding of enemy operations. Mitchell's professional evaluation positioned Maya's analytical capabilities as strategic assets that needed integration into operational planning through expanded roles that recognized her enhanced intelligence gathering as essential to tactical success. Her assessment indicated growing recognition that Maya's expertise provided capabilities that exceeded conventional military intelligence while pointing toward solutions that could change the entire operational approach. The strategic implications of Maya's enhanced monitoring created opportunities for innovative approaches to tactical challenges through comprehensive understanding of enemy operations and systematic solutions to security problems that had resisted conventional military responses. Mitchell's recognition of Maya's capabilities marked the beginning of professional relationships that would enable her analytical expertise to influence operational planning at strategic levels. Maya understood that Mitchell's assessment represented professional recognition of enhanced intelligence capabilities that could provide tactical advantages through innovative approaches to operational planning and strategic thinking. Her demonstration had revealed analytical expertise that exceeded conventional military intelligence while pointing toward solutions that could achieve mission success through systematic understanding of enemy operations and comprehensive approaches to security challenges. The encounter with Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell marked a turning point in Maya's professional trajectory from routine intelligence analyst to strategic asset whose enhanced monitoring capabilities provided essential intelligence for tactical success. Through innovative approaches to operational planning and strategic thinking, her analytical expertise had gained recognition from senior personnel whose strategic thinking could enable expanded roles that addressed systematic security problems, while providing solutions that could restore tactical advantages. The emergency klaxon shattered the pre-dawn quiet of forward operating base Blackwater as Maya jolted awake in her quarters, immediately understanding that the convoy disaster she had predicted through systematic intelligence analysis had finally materialized into the tactical catastrophe that would force senior command to confront systematic security failures they had been ignoring for months. Her enhanced monitoring systems had been tracking enemy preparations throughout the night, automated alerts confirming coordinated hostile activity that indicated the trap was closing around coalition forces who remained unaware of the systematic information compromise that rendered their conventional tactical approaches useless. Maya dressed quickly and rushed to the communications center where emergency protocols had transformed the normally quiet intelligence workspace into a chaotic command post filled with personnel trying to coordinate rescue operations for units that had walked into prepared ambush positions. The tactical display showed convoy elements scattered across hostile territory while enemy forces maintained coordinated pressure that prevented extraction or reinforcement through conventional military responses. Her analytical interface revealed enemy communications that demonstrated systematic preparation for exactly this type of large-scale tactical engagement. Colonel Harrison's voice carried across the communications center with the strained authority of someone whose command responsibilities had expanded beyond manageable limits as multiple crisis situations developed simultaneously throughout the operational area. His tactical staff struggled to coordinate responses that addressed immediate threats while maintaining operational security that had already been systematically compromised through sources they couldn't identify or neutralize. The scope of the tactical disaster exceeded anything they had prepared for through conventional military planning. Captain Rodriguez coordinated tactical communications from a mobile command post that provided real-time updates about convoy positions while enemy forces maintained systematic pressure that prevented effective counter-operations. His conventional tactical expertise proved inadequate for addressing coordinated enemy responses that anticipated coalition movements before orders were transmitted to operational units. Maya's enhanced monitoring revealed enemy coordination that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of coalition tactical doctrine and operational capabilities. Sergeant Thompson's demolitions expertise remained irrelevant to tactical challenges that required strategic solutions rather than explosive responses, and his frustration reflected broader difficulties faced by operational personnel who specialized. Training couldn't address systematic security problems that enabled enemy tactical advantages. Maya's analysis indicated that conventional military approaches wouldn't resolve fundamental issues that required innovative strategic thinking and comprehensive understanding of enemy operations. The communications chaos included multiple radio channels carrying simultaneous tactical updates from scattered units, while enemy forces coordinated responses through systematic access to coalition frequency assignments and communication protocols. Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities provided comprehensive understanding of enemy coordination, while conventional military personnel struggled with tactical situations that exceeded their training and experience with conventional conflicts. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell arrived at the communications center with the strategic perspective needed to assess systematic failures that had produced the current tactical disaster, and her immediate attention focused on Maya's analytical interface, which displayed comprehensive intelligence about enemy operations that wasn't available through conventional military channels. Her strategic intelligence background enabled her to immediately recognize that the tactical crisis required solutions that addressed systematic security problems rather than immediate operational challenges. Maya's enhanced monitoring systems revealed enemy communications that demonstrated coordinated tactical operations across multiple geographical areas while maintaining systematic pressure that prevented coalition forces from implementing effective countermeasures through conventional military responses. Her analytical correlation provided real-time intelligence about enemy strategic planning that positioned systematic security compromise as the fundamental cause of tactical failures rather than an inadequate operational execution. The tactical situation included convoy elements pinned in hostile territory while enemy forces maintained coordinated defensive positions that had been prepared through advance knowledge of coalition operational planning. Maya's analysis revealed systematic enemy preparation that indicated comprehensive access to classified tactical information, including route assignments, timing schedules, and contingency procedures that should have been restricted to personnel with appropriate security clearances. Emergency medical helicopters remained grounded due to coordinated enemy air defense positions that had been established along evacuation routes that weren't announced through general military channels. Tactical preparation that demonstrated systematic enemy access to contingency planning information. Maya's enhanced monitoring revealed enemy communications that indicated real-time awareness of medical evacuation procedures and aircraft assignments that enabled coordinated responses to humanitarian operations. Specialist Martinez coordinated medical support for casualties that continued arriving from tactical operations that had encountered systematic enemy preparation rather than reactive responses to coalition activities. Her medical expertise couldn't address the fundamental security problems that increased risks to operational personnel through systematic compromise of tactical planning and operational security. Maya's analysis indicated that casualty prevention required addressing systematic intelligence failures rather than improving medical response capabilities. The communication center atmosphere reflected growing recognition among senior personnel that conventional tactical approaches wouldn't resolve systematic security problems that enabled enemy coordination and strategic planning beyond normal capabilities for local militia forces. Maya's enhanced analytical capabilities provided comprehensive understanding of systematic information compromise, while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to operational security and strategic planning. Private Foster monitored weapons systems that couldn't provide tactical advantages against enemy forces with systematic access to coalition operational planning and comprehensive understanding of tactical capabilities and limitations. His training emphasized direct engagement rather than strategic thinking that addressed systematic security problems through innovative approaches to operational planning and tactical implementation. Maya's analytical interface displayed predictive models that indicated continued tactical failures unless fundamental security problems were addressed through systematic changes to operational planning and strategic thinking. Her enhanced monitoring revealed enemy coordination that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of coalition capabilities, while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to tactical challenges through strategic rather than operational methods. The tactical radio networks carried emergency communications from scattered units while enemy forces maintained systematic pressure through coordinated operations that demonstrated advance knowledge of coalition contingency procedures and tactical doctrine. Maya's enhanced intelligence gathering provided comprehensive understanding of systematic compromise, while conventional military personnel struggled with tactical situations that exceeded their training for reactive rather than predictive enemy responses. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell observed Maya's comprehensive analytical assessment with the strategic intelligence expertise needed to recognize that systematic security failures required immediate attention from senior command personnel who could authorize innovative approaches to tactical challenges through strategic rather than operational solutions. Her professional evaluation positioned Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities as essential to understanding and resolving fundamental problems that had produced the current tactical disaster. The emergency situation created opportunities for Maya to demonstrate analytical capabilities that provided strategic solutions to systematic security problems, while conventional military approaches proved inadequate for addressing coordinated enemy operations based on systematic access to coalition planning information. Her enhanced intelligence gathering revealed fundamental issues that required innovative thinking and comprehensive understanding of enemy operations rather than conventional tactical responses. Maya understood that the escalating tactical crisis provided the context needed for senior command personnel to recognize that systematic security problems required solutions that addressed fundamental issues rather than surface symptoms of intelligence compromise and operational planning failures. Her enhanced analytical capabilities positioned her expertise as essential to achieving tactical success through innovative approaches to strategic challenges that conventional military thinking couldn't resolve. The breakthrough came at 0-3-40-7. When Maya's enhanced monitoring systems intercepted a communication burst that contained detailed tactical information about coalition relief operations that hadn't been finalized through official planning channels. Intelligence that confirmed her worst assessment about systematic security compromise, while providing the first concrete evidence of how enemy forces obtained advance access to classified operational information. Her analytical correlation revealed the communication originated from within Forward Operating Base Blackwater itself, transmitted through secure channels that indicated the source possessed legitimate access to coalition command and control systems. Maya's automated analysis immediately flagged the transmission as containing information that hadn't been disseminated beyond senior command personnel, tactical details that were still being discussed in classified planning sessions. While enemy forces received real-time updates about coalition intentions and operational modifications, her enhanced monitoring capabilities had finally captured direct evidence of systematic information sharing that explained months of tactical failures while identifying the specific source of intelligence compromise that had enabled enemy tactical advantages. The implication struck Maya with the force of a tactical revelation that changed every assumption about operational security and strategic planning, understanding that penetrated to the fundamental reality that coalition forces weren't fighting a conventional enemy, but an adversary with systematic access to their decision-making processes. Her analytical assessment revealed that enemy tactical success wasn't based on superior capabilities, but on comprehensive knowledge of coalition plans before those plans were implemented through operational channels. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell received Maya's urgent communication about the intercepted transmission with the strategic intelligence expertise needed to immediately recognize the significance of direct evidence, confirming systematic security compromise through sources with legitimate access to classified information. Her professional background enabled her to understand that the intelligence leak represented a strategic threat that required immediate attention from the highest levels of military command while pointing toward solutions that could restore tactical advantages through innovative approaches to operational security. Maya's enhanced monitoring systems continued tracking the communication source, while simultaneously analyzing the technical aspects of information transmission that revealed sophisticated understanding of coalition, communication protocols, and security procedures. Her analytical correlation indicated that the intelligence compromise extended beyond simple information sharing into systematic penetration of coalition command structures that enabled real-time monitoring of tactical planning and strategic decision-making. The technical analysis revealed that enemy forces possessed access to coalition communication frequencies, encryption protocols, and operational codes that should have been restricted to personnel with the highest security clearances. Systematic compromise that indicated coordinated intelligence operations rather than opportunistic information gathering. Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities provided comprehensive understanding of security failures that enabled enemy tactical advantages while pointing toward solutions that required fundamental changes to operational procedures. Colonel Harrison received Mitchell's urgent briefing about Maya's discovery with the command responsibility that required immediate assessment of systematic security threats while maintaining operational effectiveness during ongoing tactical crises. His strategic thinking recognized that intelligence compromise of this magnitude required emergency protocols that addressed systematic security failures while enabling continued operations through innovative approaches to tactical challenges. Maya's analytical interface displayed comprehensive evidence of systematic information sharing that included tactical planning details, operational schedules, personnel assignments, and strategic assessments that provided enemy forces with complete understanding of coalition capabilities and intentions. Her enhanced monitoring revealed the scope of intelligence compromise while demonstrating that conventional security measures had been systematically circumvented through methods that required sophisticated technical capabilities and strategic planning. The crisis discovery prompted immediate implementation of emergency security protocols that isolated sensitive planning information, while Maya's enhanced monitoring continued tracking enemy communications to assess the immediate tactical implications of systematic intelligence compromise. Her analytical capabilities provided real-time assessment of enemy responses to modified operational security, while enabling strategic planning that addressed fundamental security problems through innovative approaches. Captain Rodriguez coordinated emergency tactical modifications based on Maya's intelligence assessment, while recognizing that conventional operational approaches needed fundamental revision to address systematic security compromise that had enabled enemy tactical advantages. His tactical expertise combined with Maya's analytical capabilities to develop operational plans that assumed enemy access to standard military procedures while implementing innovative approaches that restored coalition tactical advantages. The communication intercepts continued revealing systematic enemy coordination that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of coalition tactical doctrine, while pointing toward solutions that required strategic thinking beyond conventional military approaches. Maya's enhanced monitoring provided continuous assessment of enemy operations while enabling tactical planning that addressed systematic security compromise through innovative methods that achieved operational objectives despite intelligence limitations. Sergeant Thompson's demolitions expertise gained new relevance as tactical planning shifted toward approaches that emphasize systematic disruption of enemy coordination rather than conventional tactical objectives. Strategic thinking that utilized his specialized capabilities through innovative applications that addressed systematic security problems. Maya's analytical assessment enabled strategic planning that integrated specialized military capabilities through comprehensive understanding of enemy operations and tactical vulnerabilities. The crisis discovery revealed that enemy forces possessed systematic access to coalition intelligence assessments, operational planning documents, and strategic evaluations that provided comprehensive understanding of military capabilities, while enabling coordinated responses that anticipated coalition tactical approaches. Maya's enhanced monitoring demonstrated the scope of systematic compromise while pointing toward solutions that required innovative approaches to operational security and strategic planning. Specialist Martinez coordinated medical preparations for tactical operations that addressed systematic security compromise through innovative approaches that minimized risks to personnel while achieving operational objectives, despite intelligence limitations. Her medical expertise combined with Maya's analytical capabilities to develop casualty prevention strategies that assumed enemy access to standard medical procedures while implementing modifications that protected operational personnel. The emergency protocols implemented based on Maya's discovery included comprehensive modifications to communication procedures, operational planning methods, and tactical implementation that addressed systematic security compromise while maintaining operational effectiveness through innovative approaches to military challenges. Her enhanced monitoring capabilities provided continuous assessment of security modifications while enabling strategic planning that restored tactical advantages through systematic understanding of enemy operations. Maya's analytical correlation revealed that systematic intelligence compromise had affected every aspect of coalition operations, including logistics planning, personnel assignments, tactical procedures, and strategic assessments that provided enemy forces with comprehensive understanding of military capabilities and limitations. Her enhanced monitoring demonstrated systematic security failures while pointing toward solutions that required fundamental changes to operational approaches through innovative strategic thinking. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell coordinated strategic responses to systematic security compromise that utilized Maya's analytical capabilities while implementing emergency protocols that addressed fundamental security problems through innovative approaches to operational planning and tactical implementation. Her strategic intelligence expertise recognized that restoring tactical advantages required comprehensive understanding of systematic security failures while developing solutions that achieved operational objectives, despite intelligence limitations. The crisis discovery positioned Maya's enhanced monitoring capabilities as essential to understanding systematic security compromise, while providing solutions that could restore tactical advantages through innovative approaches to operational challenges that conventional military thinking couldn't address. Her analytical expertise had identified fundamental problems while pointing toward strategic solutions that required comprehensive understanding of enemy operations and systematic approaches to tactical planning. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.